Hello everyone! Welcome to Downtown Tailoring. In our last video, we were talking about how to finish curved edge like the collar or the armhole with the help of the stay stitch and the understitch. And I received many times the following question. What about knit? Do we treat the knit in the same way? And I'm gonna answer on this video. So I'm using the pattern I did for a t-shirt, and I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller because the mannequin is a little smaller, and I want you to really appreciate the way that the finish is done, right? So I'm gonna use today a knit that I have. See, this is a very soft knit. It's regularly stretched, so I think it will be perfect for today's demonstration. And just a little bit of ironing, why not? So I'm cutting what will be maybe like a small t-shirt, something like that. And let me just put it on the mannequin to see if the size is somewhat correct. But let me show you something with this little t-shirt. When you have a t-shirt or a tank top, you put it on over your head and it kind of stretches out a little bit, right? So there are some people even that their neck collar is all damaged because they kind of stretch it too much. So if I take a t-shirt and then do a stay stitch on the neck collar, what will happen? I don't know. I haven't done it. Not really. Let me see. So I'm gonna put it there, and as you can see, it kind of, I don't know, it doesn't look good. There is one problem when you put on your t-shirt, that won't stretch out. So with the first pulling, the thread will break. So probably using just a regular thread won't gonna do it. Of course, if we use a zigzag stitch, it will be a little bit more elastic. But for making this demonstration a little bit easier, I'm gonna use today this Flex thread. This thread is fantastic because it's kind of elastic, so you can stitch your knit with it using, in most of the cases, straight stitch, and it still will be okay. You see how it looks a little different? Okay, let's start our demonstration. What you do in a collar line, for example, well, you are gonna use some material like this one. This is a rib knit, which is a material that is very stretchy, and then you are going to cut it a little bit smaller than the size of your collar line. How you calculate how smaller is, honestly, it depends of how stretchy both material are. But as a good rule, you could say 10% smaller or maybe 1 inch smaller, something like that. So I'm gonna go to my sewing machine and I'm gonna fold my rib knit and I'm gonna stitch that edge. And again, let me remind you that I'm using Flex, otherwise we will have to use a stretch stitch like zigzag, many different stretch stitches. Okay, so I have my rib knit collar and I'm gonna sew it to my neckline. And I do the usual. I'm gonna find the fourth. I do that by folding by half, and then the half I fold it again by half. I do that in my rib knit, and then I'm gonna do that on my collar line. And when I have all my marks, what I'm gonna do is just to join together with a pin, marks with mark, and then I can sew. I'm gonna sew around, trying to pull a little bit the fabric, but not really too much. And here you go, it looks very good. I'm gonna put it on the mannequin to see how it looks before I finish it. And it's looking really great. Now I'm gonna just go into my serge and I'm gonna serge it. And then I'm gonna go to my sewing machine again, and I'm gonna do a top stitch all around just to flatten up that stitch. So I can see that the first stitch, I can see it here, it's visible, so I'm gonna just remove it so it looks nicer, like if I'm doing a real t-shirt, right? So let me put it on the mannequin, and we are gonna see the results. And as you can see, it looks great. It looks amazing. So pretty much the answer to your question is that you need, for finishing your curves, you need to stabilize that knit with another stretchy material that could be the same knit, a little bit shorter, or a rib knit, or elastic, or something like that, and you will stabilize the edges with that. So let me show you with the armhole what we can do. I cut the armhole a little bit more, so it's a little bit more like a tank top or something like that, so you can see better the results. And I'm gonna look for an elastic. I'm gonna choose today a fold over elastic, and again I'm gonna make the elastic a little shorter. As I told you before, there is not really a formula. You go more or less with your instinct, but sometimes you can make a little mistake because it depends of how elasticity both materials have, and if one is stronger than the other, those things, you know. So I'm going to start by sewing my elastic on the wrong side of the fabric. I sew the wrong side first at the edge. And then I'm gonna turn my piece to the right side, and I'm gonna sew the elastic at the right side. And here you go. That's it. I finished my armhole. Oops, I see that there is a little gather. Maybe I pulled too much there, but that doesn't matter really. Let me put it on the mannequin, and as you can see, it's looking really good. Now I'm gonna show you the laziest way. I use plastic elastic stabilizer, like this one, you see? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sew the stabilizer in the wrong side of the material. I always try to sew very close to the edge so it finishes a little bit better. And in this case, instead of measuring, well, I do that most of the time. Instead of measuring, I kind of go trying to not really pull the material too much, because I just want that side to be just finished like that. And then I'm gonna go to my serger machine and serge, and then I'm gonna go back to my sewing machine, and I'm gonna fold the elastic in. I'm using other colors so you can see what I'm doing, but of course you will try to do everything with the same color. And then I finished like if we're like a hem. And here you go. Now you have 3 ways, but the 3 ways are basically the same. I'm just using some stabilizer, which has to be as well elastic to finish my curves, you see? And here you go. This is my mock-up tank top. And I want you to let me know which of those finishes you found 1, the easiest, and 2, the prettiest, and 3, the more practical. For me, the more practical is the rib knit. I don't know. I love it. And before I go, I want to show you a short I did a few years ago where I took a regular normal t-shirt and transformed it in a tank top. I just pretty much try on my customer and mark where my customer wanted it to be tank top. I cut all the edges with a scissor, and then I sew it as I showed you before with the elastic, with the plastic elastic, serge and fold all the edges, and the results were fantastic. It was like a normal tank top. My customer was very happy. This is very easy to do. Other creators took this video and did their tank top too. It's amazing. If you find this video useful or entertaining, please give us a like, give us a hype, and don't forget to subscribe, share, comment. Bye!